Alright everybody, happy Wednesday. Hope yous are all fucking doing good. Um, I've got some time to kill. I've just been doing washings all day. Well, not all day, you know what I mean? It's not even it's not even midday yet. But I had a lot. I had like kind of my basket was full, so I had to go and do that. And I missed my karate last night because I was looking for my suit and it was actually in the washing. I was like, shit. I was just going to brass it and take it out and just go, right? But then, see, when I looked at it, man, it was all crumpled and I was just like, nah, fuck that, man. Giving myself a red neck. Um, know what I mean? So I have to make up for it the day. So I was kind of debating whether to do this or no, but my girlfriend, I asked her about it and she said she thinks I should do it. And it's actually quite a, I don't know, it might, people are like, when I talk about this shit, it's like, oh, you're so brave, well done you for talking about that. See, like, when I was talking about on Ricky's podcast or Sean's about how when I met my biological mum, like the shit they were doing and all that in the house, and I actually didn't go right into it. Near I did. Do you know what I mean? I kind of just no glossed over it, but wasn't want to get like. In fact, I didn't gloss over it because I was describing some of the injuries that I had for the physical abuse that was taking place. It wasn't every day, obviously, but I was living in fear every day after about, say, a month of living there. Because obviously it's like when somebody first meets like the domestic abuser, the kind of the predatory type, it's like, oh, it was all fine at first, and then after the door was locked, the mask came off. See, like that kind of shit. That's exactly what kind of happened. But obviously, as I explained, I didn't even know who my biological mum was. I knew her name. I knew what area of Glasgow she was from, but I'd never laid eyes on her until I was like 10 years old. Right, come up from England with my dad, his girlfriend, and my siblings. Um, this was about 1992, so that's when I was 10, right? And obviously, as I explained, like she approached me in my area when I was out playing with my pal. She asked me to take her to wherever my dad was, and then I took her to see my dad, and so my dad went and spoke to her, and she's like, "Can I take Paul and Chris?" That's my brother, Paul, my oldest brother, 10 months older, the one I was fighting with. Um, and my dad just wasn't having it, right? And but we were just wanting to see her, meet her, like you're a kid, do you know what I mean? So you're in no way to blame for that. That's not a bad thing. Wanting to meet somebody who you think's supposed to nurture you and like love you and all this kind of stuff. But as I've always said, I went to live with her from October 1993 till December 1994, and I'm not gonna lie, right? See, any time I'm reading a book, watching the news, and 1994 comes on the screen or on the page, it just reminds me of that year. And I've always said, I wish I could rub that year out of existence, which is quite weird because you obviously meet people who that was the year they got married, had a kid, something joyous happened in their life. But see, for me, that year was just a complete fucking nightmare of epic proportions, man. Um, as I explained before, like her and her husband were dealing drugs, hard drugs at the flat. The door was going every 2 seconds. When we weren't at school, we were locked in a bedroom that had no door handle on it. Couldn't even go out for the toilet. um, Unless they let us out. Um, and like sometimes they would even be that fucking up their tree. They would forget to wake up and get us up for school. Um, and I remember some of the things that were like going on. I remember one time So my biological mum sent me to the shop to get like bread, milk, whatever, right? I remember I came back and the change was like 50 pence short. And I didn't know why, right? Because trust me, right, I know sometimes you hear about kids like they maybe steal like fags and money after, but trust me, I was too shit scared of her and her husband to even contemplate that, right? And I came back. I don't know if the guy in the shop changed me or I dropped him money or whatever, but I remember when I went back, right? See the beating I got, man. She snapped a fucking, see like a golf club. So obviously it's hollow and this was hollow in the court, wasn't it? Met all the way through, snapped it right on my like my lower thigh, stabbed me in the forearm with a pen. I remember it punctured the skin. And her eyes would just be bulging out her skull, man. She'd look like fucking, as I said on Ricky's channel, Kathy Bates out of Misery. If you've ever seen that film, that was her. Um, just a total maniac, right? Um, and I remember one time, it was New Year, it was 31st of December 1993, going into the 1st of January 1994. I planned to just go back to my grandparents in Cambuslang, and we were being, my mum's friend was babysitting me and my brother, my wee brother Tony, who passed away a couple of years ago, the year before I got out of prison. And I made the mistake of taking him with me. He asked to come, right, so the two is just boosted. I wasn't even thinking like anything there. Because my mum had 4 sons, right, and Tony was the only one she had custody. I don't know why that was, but all the rest of them just was like, we're taking the kids. Obviously, me and my brother Paul are the same. We've got the same dad and mum. And I use that term loosely, mum. Do you know what I mean? And we got a taxi to Cambuslang, and my gran wasn't home. She was at my dad's in England, and my grandpa was like, he knew all about my mum's family, right? And he said because he knows some of them have been done with murders, and they're all just like, they're nutters, like they're surpassed anything I've ever done, like, and I'm not saying that to big them up. Um, and my grandpa was like, yeah, I'm not taking the chance any day my peer at my door, because my grandpa was a straight peg, he wasn't a fighter or a like anything like that, do you know what I mean? He was just into his football and his fucking horse racing and all that, do you know what I mean? So we get sent back, man. I remember waiting in the police station. Police came and got us and took us to the police station in Rutherglen. And I remember we got took out, we were sitting in a room watching a black and white telly, and my stomach was just gone the whole time. It felt like the fucking, I always imagined this is how it would feel if you were on death row, right? Like getting led to your execution. And I just wanted to fucking scream or fucking something, but nothing was just coming out. I don't know what was going on. I think I was just, like, I don't know if I was just accepting my fate or whatever. And I remember we walked out of the room, and she was standing in the corridor, and you should have seen her face, man. It was just this smirk, but she wasn't smiling with her eyes, right? And we went, and she led us outside to a taxi, and fucking her husband was in it. He's a rat scumbag, man. He used to bat a fuck at me and my wee bro, quite. He probably done it more than her, or just as bad. And he was sitting smiling. I remember sitting in between them. Wow, man. Got back to the Gorbals, and they were laughing and joking all the way home in this taxi for Rutherglen to the Gorbals, right? And as soon as I'm a 12-year-old boy at this point. In fact, I don't even think I'd turned 12 yet. I was 11. And as soon as we go in that house, see for the second that lock snapped shut, boff. And I'm not talking about when you get a slap off your dad, clip round the ear, whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about fucking battered, assaults, abuse, right? At first it was like slaps, then it was punches, right? And she was grabbing my hair and fucking, cause she had big rings on, see like big massive sovereigns, full sovereigns, no wee fucking half sovereigns out of Argos. And she just cracking us right on top of the head and all that. And we were dragged in the living room, and this was worse than any interrogation I've had by any cops, because the cops weren't, the cops have never laid a finger on me. Don't know if they ever wanted to, but imagine some of them did. But it's not my point. You would expect that more for the cops than your own fucking parents. Do you know what I mean? And they were pure quizzing me about, where were you? Who did you see? Did you say it? And what was your grandpa saying? Then what did they wanted to know, blow by blow, every exchange. Like, it was fucking mental, man. And then after getting, and see, in between questioning, they'd be whacking you with a leather belt and all that, right? In between questioning and all that, and my wee brother was just greeting his fucking eyes out. My wee brother Tony was only 8, but for some reason, I didn't. No tears came out at all, and I find that I always look back on that and think that's so weird. And this kind of interrogation carried on into obviously the next day and that, right? And what they would do was tell me to get to your bed, right? And then I'd wake up the next morning, I'd wake up with him doing that in the living room, and I'd go in the living room and it would just start over again, right? And so my mum's husband had a son to her, so he's technically my brother, but I don't call him my brother. None of us call him brother. Like, we don't class him as anything to do with us, basically. And uh, he was only a child. He was a baby at the time. He was still in his cot, and there was so his cot was pushed against a bedroom wall because two or three of the bars were snapped off it, and or taken out or something. Her husband snapped the two or three of them over the top of my head, but he was doing it. He wasn't like whacking me full force. He was tapping me like really, really hard on top of my head, and I ended up with like lumps over the top of my head, but I had hair at the time, so you couldn't see it. And I remember when they would go in the living room to do something, I would spit on my fingers and run it over under my eyes so that they would think that I was crying and maybe fucking leave me alone. And nah, but did they fuck? So I was getting whacked about with the belts, and it was fucking horrendous, man. And I think because of that beating, I think that was why I was so that was December, January 94. I didn't go back to my grand's to no, sorry, December 94 I left. This was like December 93, January 94, so I didn't escape for there until the following year, and I think that speaks volumes. I think it's like I just learned that there was nobody coming to save me, there was nobody to help me, there was nobody to do whatever. And a couple of times I'd snuck away to the social workers and told them shit, but they would always end up finding out because everybody in the Gorbals knew her. And I don't care what because it kind of hangs me when people go, oh, but it's still your mum. Aye, right, fuck's sake, planet you on. um, I don't get how people can hurt kids. And to be quite honest with you, I don't want to get too into it, but I know what I would do with them. As I've said before, some people just shouldn't be walking this earth. Do you know what I mean? And I would put they two in that category. But eventually, obviously, like I had a few of these beatings after that. Like severe ones. Fucking one of them was over a cake, right? Somebody had ate a cake, and it wasn't even like a birthday cake, right? It was like a fucking, it was like a wee thing or something, and me and my wee brother Tony got absolutely battered fuck out for that, man. And none of us had even ate it. It's probably one of their junky pals or something. Fucking, they don't even know who's coming in out their house, know what I mean? Fuck's sake, we were locked in that fucking room nearly 24/7, or let out when they wanted to go and do something. And we used to get, she had a babysitter down the stair. His nickname was Saddam. He was like a drinker, but he was dead smart, and me and my brother loved him. He'd lit the wee cap with the pom pom on it, and he was just a sound guy, man. His house was like a time capsule, but you know what? I wasn't giving a fuck because it was like a place of safety compared to their fucking house. Know what I mean? Where you didn't know what was going to happen. It was almost like respite for them. Don't know if he's still alive or what, but ended up a couple of times I'd walked into her down the Gobbles because my cousin from my dad's side lived down the Gobbles. Um, and sometimes, see, after my dad died, I was going to Castlemilk High School after I get kicked out of Calfkin High. And my cousin Robert, he was going with a lassie that stayed in Mitchell Hill Flats in Castlemilk. They've been pulled down now. And he'd come up, man, and let me and him would just go, like, this would be like the summer 1996. We'd just get a bus down to the Gobbles and just get smashed, just sit and drink and walk about laughing at shit and just being, I don't know, just enjoying each other's company. And I remember I walked into her, but I wasn't scared of her by this point, man, you know. And she was with that lanky fucking rat, a husband of hers, and um, he was like, "Moan, hurry up." I was like, "You wait." I had a bust him, man. If I was only 14, but man, as I say, like my gran always says, me and my brother grew up too quick, and I tend to agree with that. And I think that's how I make sure my own kid doesn't. Do you know what I mean? Um, and I remember, like years later, I was in Parliament, right, and somebody, I was in doing my recall. One of the screws pushed a phone number, a mobile telephone number under my door and says you have to phone this number, and I'm thinking straight away, fuck, somebody's died, man. Um, and I went and phoned it, and it was her. She wasn't with that guy anymore. She was going about how, oh, I'm going to do right this time, and fucking, and I told her the shit he was doing, battering her, fuck, when, especially sometimes when she wasn't there, he did give us a couple of downs, and gave her due one time, she did end up fucking, see, like, threatening him and all that. But it was too little too late, but then, do you know what I mean, you date consistently or don't fucking date at all, know what I mean? And she was hitting me, I was only, what, 19 by this point, right? And she was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking do this and do that, and I'll get your room done up and all that. So I'm like, do you know what, I'll give it a go, right? But I could slap myself sometimes, man, because sometimes, right, it's like my brother as well and my Wayne's mum. You always want to believe there's good in people, right? Um, and they put on this poor me front and all this shit. And sometimes I do kind of feel shit for them, as I've said, but ended up got to stay with her, and I found, so this is ended up, so the first night I got out of Parliament, me and my girlfriend at the time, this lassie I was going with, we stayed in her house, and there was a fucking, a hooker staying in her gaff, right? Turns out she was running a ring of hookers, right? And I was just like at my bird the next day because they battered her not that night, and we were just sitting in the room drinking, like, what the fuck, man? I've never been running any sort of shit like that before, and I just thought, nah, do you know what? So me and my girlfriend fucked off the next day, and we went to stay in her ma's in Rutherglen, and One day we walked into the shop, got like the paper, rolls, all this shit. So she's in the kitchen cooking fucking rolls and sausage or whatever it was. And I'm sitting reading the Daily Record, right? And I sees an article, woman plunges to her death from Gorbals tower block. And it showed you this big dent in the fucking, the ground outside, right? It was like a kind of, it was like a bit of grass bound by a concrete kind of curb sort of thing at the bottom of the tower. I'm like, ah, fuck's sake, they're my ma's flats. And I've just looked, see the lassie who was staying there, was her photo on the bottom of the picture, and I was like, come here and see this. Two of us have just looked at each other like, what the fuck? And it turned out, right, so what ended up happening was, there was my biological mum, my wee brother Tony, and the guy my ma was gone with, I think it was his house. And the lassie went out the window 20 stories up. And the first thing I thought it was she had done this, right? Because I remember hearing that story like years ago. I mean years ago, like maybe 20 years ago, how my ma was meant to have hung a lassie out a window because she was babysitting my wee brother Tony, and she done something, she left the chip pan on, or she fucking didn't flush the toilet, whatever the fuck it was, I don't even know what it was, right? It doesn't matter. The point is, I'd heard this story, right? So right away I'm thinking she done that, right? And she got convicted like the day before me, the week before me, or it was something like that. She got convicted of murder. My wee brother Tony got like fucking cut for the indictment or something because the three of them were charged with this, right? Um, and she got my real ma got done with it. She got an 18-year prison sentence, a life sentence with 18 years tariff. And what ended up happening was she got it quashed. I was in shots at the time. It was a screw that came and told me, says, your mum's just been had her sentence reduced to 3 years because the lassie who jumped out the window she was done with like abducting her and assaulting her. And what I ended up hearing was the lassie just had enough. Do you know what I mean? It was a shame for her. She was a heroin addict and they had a grip of her. And I don't know if she got into this sort of thing like selling herself before she met them or she started doing it when she met. I don't know the ins and outs of this because this was all going on like way before I was kind of there, know what I mean? Before I got out or whatever. Um, the lassie she was like a training to be a nurse or something. I think she was fair well to do family, and it just kind of just drugs are fucking horrible, man. Honest to God, man. And turn the nicest person into a wreck. And I've known that because obviously I'm watching my brother day by day. Do you know, I've not seen him about a month, but I've been watching it for a long time. Lost family members to drugs and drink, and close friends, all that shit. So, um, it's just horrendous, man. But I spoke to my wee brother Tony after this, right? Because I was asking him, did she fucking do that? Not, and he's like, no, Chris. He says I was lying sleeping on the couch, and she walked from where she slept through the hallway, past him in the living room and in the kitchen, and dove out the window, right? And he said the window was like inside out, and he says he woke up with the wind blowing the curtain a bit, right? He says I looked out and just seen people standing round her, and I just was like shit. He says I went and woke them up, blah blah blah. And I do believe Tony because he would have told me, he would have. And I was like fucking hell. So I think what happened was she left a suicide note, right? and it was like lyrics out of Pink Floyd The Wall or something, goodbye cruel world, I'm leaving you today, or some shit like that, right? And what I heard was the murder squad pocketed the note or something, or denied they had it, because she had just finished a sentence before this, for doing something to a sex worker, know what I mean? Um, assault, no, fucking attempt or whatever it was, right? She got like 4 years or something, I think. And obviously they know what a lot of her family are all about. Some of them, don't get me wrong, there's some of them are alright. Like my generation are all kind of, like I talk to some of my cousins, like they're female and that, right? See them about whatever, a couple of the boys, but nothing like that, man. Like, do you know what I mean? And I always feel sorry for my other cousins because they had to grow up round about them. I was lucky, I had my gran and my grandpa, and obviously my dad, but my dad wasn't much of a dad, but I was never scared of him like that, never. I would get a slap, but I was never scared of him, do you know what I mean? So, um, she ended up getting out and fucking, she, she drank herself to death, basically. It was just hitting the drink, hitting the drink, hitting the drink. And it was 2017 and I heard she died and I got offered to go to the funeral. I would have been allowed to go because it was my biological mum. I was like, nah, fuck her. No chance, mate. Fuck's sake, I went there just to make sure she was fucking in the ground. Know what I mean? So I'd have been gone for. And I felt absolutely nothing. Nothing at all when I found it. And I still feel nothing about it, about her. Because you protect your kids with your life. See, if you don't, you've got no business being a parent, do you know? That's just my personal opinion about it. Um, do you know what I mean? So that was that. And I remember, see, the author, Reg Mackay, he ended up writing about it in a book, Murder Capital. And I remember he came into shots when I was there and he was doing like a talk, but I wasn't at it. I can't think I was in education or something. I ended up not going. I was like, not going to that. Kind of drifting for all that shit, but then anyway, reading Reg Mackay books and gangster shit. No, I was getting into my studying. Do you know what I mean? I was outgrowing it, but thought I'd come on and talk about that because obviously I was thinking about what to come on and talk about yesterday, but I was busy yesterday because fucking I got a new snake. It was like obviously it's somebody that gave it to me with the setup and all that because it was her son's and he'd moved out, got his own, he's sharing a flat, uni, whatever, can he take it with him? Um, so she's like, do you want this? Like, it's a bear shit in the woods. So I was busy, I had to get my pal to come help me lift it. It's a fucking 4 foot cage, you know what I mean? With fucking all sorts in it, man. So I put it on my shorts yesterday with Hugo. So aye, that's how. And then yesterday I was trying to think like, what can I come on and talk about? There was a couple of things I was thinking about, but I was saying to my girlfriend that I should talk about that. She's like, aye, I would, but I don't know, man. I just didn't know. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes I just like to forget about them. Do you know? But I'm going to need to go and get my washing out the dryer and then get ready for my class because I need to leave soon. So I hope that was watchable and hope nobody's offended by this football strip. Just kidding. Running low on t-shirts, you know. So everybody take care. Cheers for subscribing and watching and commenting, leaving positive comments, being positive and seeing that people can get their life together when they try and they have something to get their lives together for, you know. So take care and I'll be back soon.